Hey everybody, and thanks so much for coming back to my channel. My name is Dion and this is D Maria Reacts. So, in light of Mark Zuckerberg's new stance regarding free speech, the ladies on The View decided to chop it up. Let's take a look.
I just wanted to put a button on what I was saying. You know, there's a difference between free speech and hate speech, and we know that. Free speech, I welcome. I think everyone welcomes. It's your constitutional right. When you start delving into hate speech, which is what is happening all over social media, there's a problem with that. When you start delving into misinformation and disinformation, there's a problem with that. Meta's new hate speech guidelines permit users to call people in the LGBTQ plus community mentally ill. That is harmful. That is harmful. And the last thing I'll say is, let's just break it down to bare bones. This is about President-elect Trump going back to the White House. Mark Zuckerberg and Meta dined with Trump at Mar-a-Lago in November. Meta just donated $1 million to support his inauguration. Zuckerberg also elevated Joel Kaplan, the highest-ranking Meta executive closest to the Republican Party, to the company's most senior policy role. And on Monday, Zuckerberg said Dana White, the head of the Ultimate Fighting Championship and an ally of Trump's, would join Meta's board. This is about the fact that our many corporations, and especially these oligarchs that own these social media companies, are bowing down to Trump so that they can make money off of the American people.
So, whatever. It's okay as long as everybody is bowing down to them. But the moment you want a change of opinion, the bow down is cast down. First of all, I'm not very convinced at all that Mark Zuckerberg is any ally of Trump, any more than probably Sonny thinks. He's just jumping on the Trump chain. Zuckerberg is just jumping on the Trump train because he's the new thing. You know, he's the one that's in power. Had Kamala Harris won the presidency, do you really think Mark Zuckerberg would have taken such an extreme stance? Such a huge change of mind? No, he wouldn't have. He doesn't have that kind of courage. And it's funny when the progressive crowd tries to downplay the rich people, because they're rich themselves. They support the rich. Billionaires contributed to Kamala Harris's campaign, and that was all fine. But if it's a billionaire from the right, all of a sudden, hatred of the rich. And Sonny just sat there, as the rest of them will, and contradicted herself majorly. I support free speech, but... And then later on, someone comes on and says, you know, that hate speech is violence. It is not. Let's continue to check out the foolishness.
If we can all have a bit of a conversation here. So this is actually more complex than we're making it, but on the free speech of it, and I actually agreed with Mark Zuckerberg. Of course there's pressure because Trump's coming into office, but I do think that there's a cultural and societal desire to be able to talk about things openly, and actually liberals used to be the ones who were super pro-free speech. The famous saying goes, I disagree with what you're saying, but I'll defend to the death your right to say.
Yes,
so
but I will not defend to the death your right to call me. Sometimes it happens like this. Be nice. She didn't talk for 20 minutes.
And I always like hearing people say.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm trying to make the point that hate speech, something that incites violence, is not legally ever protected under the First Amendment. My ability to say a housewife is a household object, I can say that. It can offend you. I don't agree with it, but you absolutely, under the First Amendment, have a right to say it. And the fact that we're policing speech because it makes people uncomfortable or they don't like it or it offends them, I don't think it's how we're doing it.
If somebody decides, as they do often on these social media places, to call me a...
Oh, yeah. Don't even say the word.
Well, let's be.
I get death threats on social media.
If we're going to have this conversation, then let's have it.
All right, go ahead.
Because if we're going to do that, we have to do that. Okay. So
Whoopi, oh my gosh, I just can't take her. I used to love Whoopi Goldberg back in the day. I cannot stand to hear her speak anymore because nothing but utter foolery comes out of her mouth. The fact that these people believe, and many believe just the same, that hate speech is violence? No. Violent speech is violent. Hate speech can be anything. You can consider anything hate speech. Let's listen further. Painful as it is.
There are certain things where we all agree, boy, you shouldn't be saying that. That is not curbing your free speech. It's asking you to, not you, it's asking one to respect the fact.
It's not asking. You're not talking about asking. You're talking about forcible silencing.
That people don't want to hear that word when it has to do with them, or Native Americans, or women, or any of these things. And that's my point.
But by the way, there is an element of choice that comes into this. I would never subscribe to somebody who would use that language or who would incite.
No, but you're on a site that says now, maybe it's okay to say it.
Wasn't before.
Well, you guys were focusing on hate speech, but some of the beginning things they did were Facebook removed all content that said COVID was a man-made disease. There was a group of people claiming it was, and they were considered off limits. Now it's debatable, and they released that. So my point is, there's a difference between the obvious awful stuff you're talking about, but it's shutting down conversations, which that's the point.
And again, some things are black and white because you don't have all the facts.
Yes, but not everything is black or white. And the things that we know are black and white are the things that we can say, you know what? You don't need to do this, because we've decided collectively as a group of human beings that we're going to respect, because they always talk about respect. If you're going to respect people, there are certain things I want you to say. If you
When the woke culture starts talking about respect, you better be concerned. To them, respect means that if a person decides to be trans, all the rest of us are forced to play right along. If you misgender someone, you're canceled. People have lost their jobs. They have been ostracized for not playing along with mental illness. I cannot believe the world in which we live now. I cannot believe it. This is utter craziness.
on the thing, say I'm not going to accept that. Or for all of the folks who are applauding, you can also not get on Meta.
Well, that's the freedom.
Now, see, there she goes. So now she's advocating that people not use the Facebook app. Did you notice that? There, she had to slide it in there. She just wants to cancel whomever, and that's how they are. They want to cancel whomever does not agree with them. And that's flat out cap. That's just cap. This is the United States of America. If someone calls me a name, I might be ticked off. But I'm not going to say that they deserve to be canceled or that they, they don't have the right to feel what they feel. If somebody doesn't like me because I happen to have a brown earth suit, so what? Whatever. But what I cannot stand about these ladies is that what they advocate for is homogeneity of thought, just groupthink. We give you the talking points, we tell you what to say, and you just say it and regurgitate it back and do everything. Think about things the way that we do. That's the point of their show, as far as I'm concerned, is to provide people with woke talking points and progressive talking points and to tell people how to think. And my thing is, who are they? Who are they to be bossing people around? And if anybody is sitting in that audience and they just stop visiting Meta because she said so, you are a robot with no thinking brain of your own.
Well, that's
Rather than saying we have to shut down it. And by the way, what if it's in a rap lyric? What if it's something that's in a comedy sketch? Oftentimes, language is used in comedy that's represented on social media.
No, you don't hear. No, you don't hear
it.
it. You don't hear it very much on social media. You're not allowed to do it in comedy.
But that's not a good thing. I don't think silencing speech.
You can't just go out there and
Yes, there are some
I'm
times.
not saying calling people names. I'm saying some of these words that they're saying are protected.
You know, can I say something? There was a time when there were cartoons when I was a kid, right? And they would make fun of Italians. What's the matter, you? You know, he's a pizza. Everybody was a pizza maker.
Yeah.
And I, as a child, I felt like that was offensive to me.
Yeah.
So I understand.
Joy, you know doggone well that went over your head as a child. When I was a child, I didn't know anything about all those different nuances, and my parents didn't point any of that mess out. So unless her parents were pointing it out, and I doubt that they were, because her parents probably are not progressive wokety wokes. Well, they weren't back then because it wasn't a thing back then. Stop, Joy.
And I have empathy for people who don't like it. When you are making fun of their group in a nasty way.
Right.
Now, the people who are doing this are not from minority groups. They're from majority groups. And so
This is not me saying that every person in this.
So you mean to tell me there are no minorities that are blasting out racist remarks? I see it all the time. Number one, you can say whatever you want to about a white male nowadays. It does not matter. And they can't even fight back. They don't even have a right to speak in their own defense, which is why you will see these beta males, that's what they call them nowadays, these soft beta males who happen to be Caucasian, who will be standing right beside some big old black woman who is saying, like, the first thing I think of is Letitia James. And doggone, I'm a big old black woman. I don't think of myself as big old, but whatever. But Letitia James, for instance, before she got into office, and she was like, what did she say? She said something like, it was a diatribe. It was like three things. There, two something, and two something, two male, and two white. So her comments were against men and against white people, especially white men. So you'll have a Caucasian male that will stand right beside a black person talking about members of their ethnic group, and they'll chime right in and co-sign it. They'll speak the same talking points. I saw a video just yesterday of a white male basically referring to white men as if he wasn't one. It was crazy. So the only ones you are allowed to offend are white male. And don't be a Christian white male. Oh my gosh. You're just, the bane of all existence. These ladies, ugh.
Table gets hate speech directed at them every day.
Yeah.
No one is.
All right, I guess no one gets to
simply
finish the sentence here anymore. Okay.
No, I think the point Alyssa's making here is she is a free
Well, don't
speech.
speak for her. She speaks very well for herself.
No, but
She's just mad because she's disagreeing with her. Oh my gosh. Grow up. Aren't you 85 years old?
and I'm not doing
We
that.
all act like we're for free speech when it's the things we like. When somebody wants to defend the free speech of people
That
we
is not
disagree
true.
with,
That is
it's
not
suddenly-
true. I don't want you calling me. I don't want people to
comedy
call
needs to be able to
folks.
push limits.
Listen, comedy does push limits, but be smarter in your comedy. You don't need to offend me to be funny. I don't need to offend you to be funny. And so there are.
Tends to be offensive and
Well,
push
no,
boundaries,
not
question
that's
governments.
actually not necessarily true. The best comedy doesn't always tend to be offensive. It just.
Man, let me tell you this. The best comedy, I will watch a free television app called Pluto TV. Are y'all familiar with that? I get a kick out of watching Pluto TV because it plays all the classic shows. And I will watch, comedy shows from back in the day, like the Jeffersons, what's the one, Archie Bunker, what was the name of the show? I forgot the name of the show. All in the Family, that's it. Those shows were hilarious, and they were hilarious back then. You watch them today, and you'll be like, there's no way they would get away with saying those things. But the shows were hilarious. And, I'm not some weirdo who's sitting here and loves to be verbally abused or anything like that. But point blank, it was funny. Comedians nowadays don't have the creative latitude to really be funny, because everything they say is monitored, and they have to check all these boxes, so many boxes. How can you even remember? So I don't even know how comedians can earn themselves a living unless they're doing multiple other things as well. They better have multiple streams of income, because you're going to have so many people monitoring everything you say that, you won't even get your joke going good, because somebody will have a problem with it. Especially when you have people with a mindset of hate speech is violence. What? Oh my gosh. I have had people to say things to hurt my feelings. But that's on me. I feel like I ought to be stronger. And even if I'm not stronger, I know how to manage my feelings. I know how to take it to the Lord in prayer, for instance, or, speak positive affirmations to myself. I don't need for people to tiptoe on eggshells around me in order for me to flourish in this world. Because at the end of the day, nothing someone says about me is going to deplete my bank account because they called me a name. I remember in the days that I used to speak to women. Never mind that part, because that's going into a different topic. Okay, let me go back.
Okay, the First Amendment doesn't apply to private companies, which is why I'm frustrated Mark Zuckerberg did this. But there are countries in Europe who have modified the way they're allowed to talk about people. Yes. I actually support some eliminations on hate speech. Yeah.
Wait a minute. In Europe, what is happening is this. I heard a recent statistic. I'm trying to remember it. Someone was comparing people who said the wrong thing on social media and how many of them were jailed. In Russia, it was like 400 something. Maybe this was for a particular year. I need to find that statistic. And in Europe, it was like 3,000. Can you imagine being locked up because of something you said on social media that was unpopular? For calling somebody a name, for instance. And I'm not a person that does that. I don't go around name calling people because I have too much to do, frankly. I'm too busy. And then it's just not my mindset. I don't like saying hurtful things to people. Because in my mind, I treat people the way I want to be treated, is what I try to do. But for the people that do, can you imagine going to jail for that? Now, if you make a threat or something, then that's something that needs to be looked into, definitely. But if it's just because I'm disagreeing with you or I call you a name or something like that, people need to grow up. Grow up.
Which makes me not an absolutist, but I'm okay with it.
Because there are things that we collectively can say, we respect everybody's right not to be called a name. If you take...
Okay. You can respect that all day long, but there should be freedom of speech, point blank.
Take that away and you allow that, it's a problem.
They didn't allow it before, and they allow it now, and they
well,
allow
it's
it
not
now.
a good thing.
You know, back in the day, before all this, people were stronger people. I mean, yeah, you know, you would still have hurt feelings. Let me go back to Pluto TV. So sometimes on Pluto TV, I will even watch things like Little House on the Prairie, you know, from olden times. And the people were strong, man. They had resilience. They would go through things and they would fight their way through and they would come out of it stronger. You know, some things are out of our control, for instance. So, you know, whether it be a hailstorm and they were farmers and they lost their wheat crop, you know, they didn't just go cuckoo and then end up going sitting in the house somewhere in a homemade straitjacket from back then, because they didn't have straitjackets, but you know what I mean. They would go to their families, their communities, and they would find strength with them and their friends, and life would go on. And like I said, they would be stronger for it. They would be better for it. Nowadays, people can't go through nothing. And I am not referring to like the fires in California. That's off limits. I'm not talking about that. But y'all know what I mean. People can't endure anything. A name, somebody called you a name and you can't endure that. Oh my goodness. How in the world are you ever going to make it through this world? How? How will your children? No wonder you can't say anything to kids nowadays. So much gentle parenting and all of that stuff. And I keep saying, I'm not one who is ruthless with my words at all. I don't believe in that. It goes against my conscience. You know, if I find myself about to slip up and do it, you know, I catch myself. You know, I don't deliberately say hurtful things to people. But I don't advocate this whole, you know, the whole world has to be silenced and restricted and walk on eggshells because, oh, somebody somewhere might be offended. That's the reason why the election went the way it did, because people are tired of that. People are tired. They have gotten sick of this wokety woke mess. And that's exactly what it is. Mess. Let's finish this out. Oh, good. They're almost done.
Existed on any platform I've been on.
Donald Trump.
There's never been a social media platform that's existed where you can't call people names. I've been called names on every platform that didn't exist.
But here's the thing, it doesn't make it,
Trump,
but it doesn't make it right.
But let's face facts.
Well,
Not
that's
saying
what I'm
because
saying.
Donald Trump got elected, now you can call names on social media.
Well,
That's not
why
true.
Mark. That's why.
That's a show enough truth. Because, baby, when I came out in support of Donald Trump on social media, some of my own family members were calling me names. I don't care. But see, you know, at my age, yeah, it wouldn't bother me. I don't care what people think about my viewpoint, or else I wouldn't publicize my viewpoint. But you know what I mean. So anyway, there you have it. So I don't know, as far, like I said, as far as this Mark Zuckerberg thing and how he's changed his mind, if we were to get a Democratic president in the next 4 years, he'd flip it right back the same way. So I just don't believe that he's a patriot at all, and he's just doing this so he can get on the good side of Donald Trump and on the good side of the pulse of America. Anyway, if you enjoy this video, please hit your like button down below. Leave me a comment. I love when you all comment. I love for us to chat it up in the comment section. And if you're finding that my content is bringing value, even if it's just entertainment, definitely hit that subscribe button. And when you do, hit that bell notification so that you will be notified whenever I drop a new video. Thanks so much, and I will see y'all next time. Take care.